David would write a lot of the circuits that we do, and I'd come in, and then he'd have a football in hand, and he'd be like throwing it,
just chuck it at you.
chucking that at me every kind of 5 minutes.
Which the film makes you touch look a bit better than it is, I'd say.
There's a
moment in there. It looks out.
Listen,
is that real? Is that CGI?
That's real. But there's about 200 takes of me like walloping it. You know what I mean?
Welcome to Before the Lights. If you're new here, we're a team of health professionals based in London who train people from all over the creative world to get ready for TV, film, even live shows, but most importantly, for everyday life. I'm Dave Hasty.
I'm George Ashwell.
I'm Georgia Canavan.
And I'm Josh Betteridge.
We've been lucky enough to build a pretty special group of members here at the club, so we thought it would be nice for other people to get to know some of them as well as we do.
I was like, I need to start going to the gym. So I literally got out my laptop, and was like, PTs for actors.
Welcome to Before the Lights podcast, guys. I'm Greg James. With me over here is Dangerous Dave, and here is Evil George. And today we're talking grind set.
Grind set?
It's not about mindset, guys. It's about grind set.
It was the very first time I met you when you came in and you actually had to run off and be sick in the toilet.
You feel quite vulnerable when you're kind of lying on your back with your legs up in the air because you feel sick. Just breathing, and I'm like, this never happens. I'm so sorry.
So sit back, only do some exercise if you want to, and maybe even learn something about how to look after yourself. Welcome back to the Before the Lights podcast. So this episode we're about to listen to is a little bit different, and we're going to take things outside of the studio. For regular listeners, you'll know that we often speak to actors and musicians and different people in the creative world, and sometimes we even get the opportunity to attend the premiere for certain projects that we've worked on. But this time round, we actually got the chance to host a screening of the film Saipan, where we got the joy of working with Hardwicke as he prepared to play Roy Keane in that film. The film is a little bit of a journey into the public falling out that Roy Keane had with Mick McCarthy, who's played by Steve Coogan. So we're going to cut to the live show that we put on and the Q&A that we got to do. And then we'll be back in the studio to pick up with Aina following that. And as promised, here he is. Aina's come up to have a little chat with us.
Thank you very much.
Hello again.
Hello.
I thought it was a brilliant film, and it's gone down very well in Ireland in particular. It's got 12 Irish Film Television Awards nominations, which is pretty impressive. So congratulations to you.
Thank you very much. Yeah, it's wonderful. It's great.
And a couple of bits in which you and Steve are kind of running head to head. So it's nice to take that rivalry from there into the real life now.
Yeah, I'll happily continue that rivalry with Steve Coogan.
But back to the business at hand. So I think like Saipan was the first time, or the first reason we actually met them, wasn't it? And was it Conor McNeil who was actually in the audience here? I think he's responsible for that introduction, maybe.
He might well be, yeah, Conor.
It's all your fault.
No, he'll hate this. He'll absolutely hate this shout out that he's getting. Thank you.
But he very kindly pointed you in our direction.
He did.
So
exactly.
I think you'd kind of come on board with the film, and you were then thinking about.
Well, it was all very last minute, as these things tend to be. The film has been in the works for about 5 years, but then in terms of when it actually came around to shoot it, we had about 5 weeks kind of notice, which is fairly short as these things go. It all came together very quickly, and I got a call saying, you're going to be doing this in August. They're cobbling together everything else and all the locations, so I thought, right, better get cracking. And Conor put me in touch with you guys, and yeah, I think I met you first, David, and I was like, this is the time we've got. Can you train me roughly like a footballer might train for the next 5 weeks? And I think it's credit to you, and one of the great things about working with you is like, it was you were so relaxed about the prospect of that. I kind of thought, this is a ridiculous amount of time, like, you know, to be able to kind of get into the headspace for it and to get into the frame of mind for it. But you ran with it, and we were down in Balls over Street.
It is often that we don't have tons of time in the lead up to these kind of projects. So for us, it was relatively normal, wasn't it, George? It was kind of like we've had all sorts of stuff from like reshoots where someone's probably gone off and enjoyed themselves in between. Because like you can see, there's a lot of scenes of you topless, which may have happened months and months ago, and for whatever reason, certain things occasionally have to get. Luckily, this wasn't the case with you. you've kept yourself in good nick all the way through. But it does happen. It gets sprung upon us quite quickly. So for that, it was it's quite normal for us to have to kind of like pick that up.
Absolutely. And I think it's also like you think, oh shit, I'm going to have to be Roy Keane. I'm going to have to play like football every day. I'm going to have to train like that. But actually, the kind of aesthetic side of it, you can often cheat it. You don't have to play football every day for like however many years you played football for. You can look at the person and go, okay, how do we cheat that?
Yeah.
Whether it's dietary or whatever. And I think the diet was a big thing for you because he's so lean. We cheated it a little bit, and it was probably the hardest part for you as well.
That was hard. Yeah, I'd struggle to do that again now, I have to say. But it was the mix of the two, wasn't it? I mean, the probably the biggest relief was when I told you this story that it was Saipan, was that there was going to be very little football played, and so that side of things we might just get away with. We
were googling five-a-side pitches near us so we could take you down there.
Me too, and I did it. I joined the five-a-side. Sorry to anyone who had to play in a team with me. But I joined the five-a-side team for about 5 weeks. I love playing football and had for years, but if you've got kind of a short lead up, I suppose you make those quick decisions about, all right, what do I really need to focus on, and what's the important thing here? And I suppose for this story, it was more about looking the part, and it was more about feeling the part as well, like feeling good.
And it actually helps quite a lot that obviously Roy's a real person, so there's a definite reference to kind of work from there. Like we knew roughly the ballpark of what like body fat we're expected to get you to, and you're naturally quite lean anyway, so that wasn't kind of miles away, but it was just about tweaking what you were doing. And from memory, you were in a play at the time, weren't you? So that was the challenge, was actually making sure that you felt energized to do your job, because obviously being on stage requires a lot of effort, a lot of energy, and also at the same time trying to create a bit of a calorie deficit for you, where you're moving towards that goal that we were trying to achieve in terms of the aesthetic, which I think you did. You can kind of see it as evident there on the screen, but also still being able to do your job, which must be kind of the hardest part, I imagine, for you.
That's the bit you think you figure it as you go, because especially when you start to actually do the film, like doing the play, it was tricky, but then when you start to do the film and they're long kind of 14-hour days, you just have to figure out what you need throughout the day, like to kind of keep going, and that's trial and error. Like some days you realise you've got it wrong, and it gets to 4 o'clock and you're no good to anyone. And
we kept tabs on that with a WhatsApp group, so there was a moment in time where it was just pictures of food.
Yeah,
just day in, day out.
I found that very tricky. You were good. You were very relentless in making sure I did that, which was good, because I found that tricky. I was like,
But I think like from our side of it, it works best for us because we're dealing with an actor who's portraying an athlete in this case, but it's often trying to fit, like I said, trying to fit it in around your actual life and give you things that you can do where you don't have the luxury of kind of a chef being there and being able to cook and just go, eat this, make sure you eat that. You've got to kind of be out, getting to the theatre on time or getting to rehearsals or whatever it is. So it's kind of, for us, it's the easiest way of being able to give you something that you can follow and not making it too strict either, because it can be quite daunting, I think, when you're, like I said, trying to make sure that you're achieving something like that. But we can give you a bit of guidance, and then luckily you were very diligent with it anyway, so it all
you made it very easy, because I think that stuff has to become kind of instinctive rather than like a whole added chore that you have to do or a whole thing that you have to think about on top of what you're doing already, because then it just gets, then you're less likely to do it, I suppose, or to follow it.
I think you're also, I mean, we learned, you're like kind of, that diligence is super important. Like, yeah, we're doing it for the aesthetic reason, but I think also with the way you took on the role, like how much footage and how you got into it and how you got the accent, that was like super important. It was almost like you became Roy Keane.
Well, that was where the training was really, actually the best thing about it was, I suppose, it just created that kind of framework of like, if you've got a short amount of time, it's a film, it's about a real person, or it's based, it's real events, that that kind of created a bit of a routine where, like, I would train with you and then I'd go home and you'd watch all the stuff and you'd listen to everything and you'd read everything, and it was really, like, I loved it. But I suppose it is another it's not a usual part of the job, I suppose, because you are playing with people's expectations of who that real person is. And we were all very clear from the off doing the film that, like, this was not an impression of Mick McCarthy or Roy Keane, and it was not a docudrama. It was not going to be a sort of like documentary retelling of what happened, because what's the point? But you still are, I suppose, you're still working towards those real people, and kind of, you've always got them in the back of your mind. And I think for most of that kind of lead up to the film, I was quite, obsessively watching, reading and listening to all that stuff. And then maybe a week or two before, I kind of put it down and just had to sort of forget the real people involved and put yourself in the driving seat and just ask yourself, like, what would I do in this situation? So it was a funny tightrope. I really enjoyed that part of it. I really enjoyed having to kind of balance both, that it's always going to be your version of this real person.
Did you find that because I think for those that know you, your kind of default personality is very sort of quite calm, quiet and kind, I'd say. So it's getting you in that space where you can kind of deliver those types of performances, which obviously there's a huge argument in that and there's a lot of words used, but exercise, I think, and we found it in the past as well with other people, it's like it helps to try and sort of like put you in that mental space sometimes, doesn't it?
Definitely. Yeah, fair to say this felt like a bit of a stretch from the start, and which is, I mean, those are the roles you want. Those are the ones that, are really always very interesting to play. But I kind of felt like if I was to have any chance with the part and with the film, I have to keep a kind of an intensity up to a high level for most of it, because I suppose that was why he was such an incredible footballer, was he had that kind of fire burning all the time, and he trained the way he played, and he was relentless in both, and that's why he kept such high standards. So when I was doing the film in Belfast, we filmed in Belfast, Dublin, Tenerife, I would do things like boxing and kind of boxing was the main one, actually, just stuff like that in the morning that would kind of just
it's like charging you up, wasn't it? Because we've done
like
all the kind of physical transformation side of things was kind of done long before that point, and then so we were keeping in touch on kind of text message. I remember you saying it's like before you head to set, it's kind of getting you feeling a bit on edge.
Exactly.
I suppose it does when someone else is trying to punch you in the head. But
yeah, exactly. Yeah. You're out to protect yourself. But that's exactly it. You've done all that work, and then I think when you're actually on the film shoot, it's about being your best self, feeling good, and also kind of getting into the right headspace, and that kind of stuff helped. Going for runs, doing a bit of boxing, just sort of helped get in that kind of frame of mind, and then keep away from the biscuit table.
Yeah, I was about to say, film sets can be a bit like the Irish camp in Saipan. It's like it's a minefield of sweets and biscuits and stuff. So I had to have that kind of thought of, no, I'm going to be Roy Keane in this instance, and I'm not going to eat the cheese sandwiches.
That was a handy overlap. Yeah, you could kind of go, yeah, what would he say about this? He would say no to the cheese sandwiches, no to the Jaffa cakes. Yeah, it's funny. Like things like that do kind of help. You can kind of play games with yourself that way, where you go, here we are making this film in Belfast, and you can kind of play a little psychological game where you're like, this is like being in Saipan in 2002, and it's not going to plan, and how would I feel about that? So I probably did play that game a little bit, actually, just to kind of make it feel real and make it feel alive. But at the same time, then you just have a great time, because film sets are also really fun places.
Lots of champagne in the saunas.
Yeah, I didn't get to do any of the champagne sauna stuff, but that was all a big reveal when I saw the film. I didn't even know any of that had happened. Like Jamie Beamish waking up in his underpants in the sauna. I think that was one of the complaints that's been levelled by people who were there, was there was no sauna in the hotel in Saipan. So apologies for that.
Makes for a good bit of the film, though, so.
Exactly. Look, you need to change up the locations. You need something interesting.
I guess, like you said it there, kind of there's a lot of people that were actually there, and for you, was there a little bit of that added pressure because he's such a national icon, and having grown up, like I remember watching that penalty shootout and seeing the whole thing and kind of being aware of the whole story. But was that a part of it for you that kind of weighed throughout, or not so much?
It probably was. I think I didn't think about it too much during filming, because obviously that would only get in your way. But I was nervous doing it in the lead up. But I think in a healthy way, where you're worried about getting it right. And I think there's a kind of healthy level of nerves and fear that keeps you on your toes. But then also, this happened 23 years ago, and it felt long enough ago that people's memory of it would have softened, and I think the way that Glenn and Lisa directed the film, the way that they styled it, and the tone that they struck with it, I was really happy with that, because I thought that kind of takes it out of the world of documentary. It sort of tells people from the off that we're not doing a documentary. We're kind of telling a story that's interesting for other reasons. And so that was like, I was interested in the story from the off because I remember that World Cup, and it was one of my kind of earliest memories of anything, actually. But then to meet Glenn and Lisa, who directed the film, and to see what their vision for it was really exciting, because it kind of became something completely different to what I had expected or anticipated.
Yeah, it plays on nostalgia rather than gossip. It's like, you just enjoy it for the story that it was, rather than it being like, oh, he said this and she said that.
Exactly. And it's a funny one, because you don't want to be disingenuous. You don't want to make things up or invent things that didn't happen. So like, thankfully, this was very well documented. There's been lots of books written about it from different, players in the team, and there was a lot of interviews given at the time by Roy and by other people. So Paul Fraser, who wrote the script, had a very, very clear idea of what happened and who said what, and then within that you have to kind of fill in certain blanks and get from A to B. And obviously it's only 90 minutes, so you're kind of dramatizing things, and some things happen quicker than they would have in real life. So it's a funny balance, because it's like you're not inventing anything or kind of or being disingenuous, but you just have to create a dramatic weave of the story, and so that involves setting some scenes in saunas and things like that. Yeah. But the archive footage, then the stuff that created all the world around it, like I didn't know any of that was going to happen until I saw the finished film. So that was really a nice surprise to kind of watch all of that stuff and be transported back to a time that I kind of remember, but is still very vague. And I think that became a big feature of the film then, was the kind of nostalgic lens that we were looking at it through. Yeah,
totally. And I think it's like, goes without saying, they've done a great job on sort of presenting that story and putting it together in that way. And I think it was brilliant. From our side, it was just a joy to be involved in it, and to take what our actual start in training to do what we did was all in the sports world. And then we've obviously ended up completely detached from that. But to have an opportunity to kind of in some way step back into it a little bit was just good fun from our side of things as well. It was great fun from the start. Like that's again what I loved about those sessions, is like they're great and they're intense and all the rest of it, but it's just great fun. And to give a little insight into it, like David would write a lot of the circuits that we do, and I'd come in and then he'd have a football on hand and he'd be like throwing it, just chuck it at you. Chucking that at me every kind of 5 minutes. Which the film makes you touch look a bit better than it is, I'd say. There's a moment in there. It looks out. Listen. Was that real? Is that's CGI? That's real. But there's about 200 takes of me like walloping it. I did think that. They were also very soft footballs, and I always have to apologise. Like Niall McNamee is playing Alan Kelly in the film. Niall's a great friend and a good footballer. And the one take they used of me is like he's just standing stock still in the middle of the goal, and he's raging about it. He's always giving it. So thanks to the editor and thanks to Pierce McGrail, our DOP, who managed to capture like 2 moments of me. I think that goes with being the star, isn't it? You get looked after. You get a lot of chances. You get a lot of chances. Yeah. You pretended that you didn't have input into it, but we know you did. But yeah, I think we'll kind of wrap it up there, because I know I'm conscious not to keep people sat down for too long. But thank you so much for kind of coming and helping us do this and put this on. I'm going to offer an opportunity if anyone does have any questions they'd like to ask Aina. Oh yeah, now's the time.
Hi, I really enjoyed the film. It was brilliant. Do you think Roy will watch it, or has he had any input on it? And are you a Manchester United fan?
I'm a Villa fan. Okay. So having a great time at the moment. And Roy did a good job for us about 6-7 years ago as an assistant coach. I don't know if Roy's seen it, and he has, as far as I know, hasn't mentioned anything about it. But I always think, I always acknowledge that it is a strange thing for either Roy or Mick, like for a film to be made about this thing that they get asked about every 2 weeks, and that they're probably sick of talking about. So I do acknowledge it's probably a strange thing from their perspective. But no, I haven't heard anything. I haven't heard if he's seen it or not.
Okay. And can I just ask as well, you're from Cork, aren't you?
I am, yeah.
So did you find it quite easy then to mimic the accent, or...?
Yeah, that bit was all right, actually. I grew up not far from Mayfield, where Roy's from, and so it didn't feel like a stretch or anything like that. And even just the kind of that side of the story, like I think Cork plays a huge part in this story, because I think anyone who knows that city knows we're inordinately proud of being from there. And so it for me, that was like one of the big draws of this film. Was when I was growing up, he was one of the most influential footballers in the world, and it was a huge thing to have someone of his stature coming from the city. So I was always a massive fan of him growing up, and getting to play this part, I think I was just more of a fan coming at the other side.
Well, congratulations. It was brilliant.
Thanks a million.
Thank
you. There's nothing quite like the bit in between getting the mic.
The delivery of the microphone.
There's nothing like that silence.
Hiya. First, I want to say I thought your performance was fantastic.
Thank you very much.
I'm not a massive football fan, but I really love how the film sort of speaks to Irish culture as a whole. And I really like the commentary as like, you know, I think Irish people are often romanticised as like, you know, just having a laugh or kind of having a crack, but we can kind of shoot ourselves in the foot in that kind of way. And I was just wondering if you could sort of speak to your perspective on that.
That's a great point. I mean, I think for me that was one of the things the film became about. I think in some, like, ostensibly it's about football and a football tournament, but I don't think it's about that at all, really. It's kind of, why are we telling this story about Saipan? Because for some weird reason it seemed to capture something about where the country was at the time. And as a lot of the film shows, it was this, you know, really prosperous time, really kind of, you know, the economy was booming and all of the rest of it. And still maybe there was this sense that we didn't quite take ourselves seriously enough, or we didn't quite think that we were contenders. And I've certainly found that to be like a kind of a conflict or a question in my own understanding of Irishness, this idea that like we value soundness in Ireland. I think we value the idea that like you get on with people and you don't ruffle feathers and like don't stick your head above the parapet. And there's a lot of great things about that quality that I think. But I suppose like a figure like Roy, I suppose he came to kind of embody something else that there, you know, there was no reason for us to limit ourselves or to think that that's, you know, to put a ceiling on our own kind of achievement. And what I think is interesting about watching the film now is 23 years on, that feels like a very, very different culture to me. Like whether it's sporting, you know, whether it's in our sporting life and our cultural life, like music and literature, political life, it feels like Ireland has a very different attitude now towards its place in the world, at least from my perspective. So I think one of the kind of things the film handles is that question, like, where do we see ourselves on the world stage? Like, are we just there to make up the numbers, or are we actually contenders like everyone else? And I feel like something has changed in the last 20 years on that.
Yeah, thanks. That was great.
Thank you.
Thanks everyone for coming, and
thank you, Aina. Thank you very much.
Thanks, George. Thanks, David. Thank you, Everyman. Thanks very much.
Thank you, mate.
Welcome back to the studio, where we're still joined by Aina Hardwicke, but George has been replaced by Josh.
Hello everyone, how are we?
What a relief.
I know.
Was that tough for you?
The thing that we're going to do in the future.
Yeah. You can't pull the curtain on it.
No. The thing that has already, the interview that's already happened. It was tough. It was grueling. I was glad to be back in this.
But that's why we thought we'd bring in our kindest practitioner, if we want to call him that.
Thank you.
And let that be, just like soften the mood a little after that real tough,
good cop, bad cop,
cutting edge interview.
That hard hitting. Yeah.
So whose decision was it to cut George? Was it yours, Dave, or Aina's?
Aina had a few things that he wanted to make sure were achieved, and we spoke at length about them. We don't need to like strictly define what they were, but I think you can kind of get.
You can read it. Look, people can make their own minds up about why he was subbed out for you.
Okay.
But yeah, we're sorry that you couldn't be there and that you couldn't make it, but we'll endeavour to create an environment where Josh can be let loose on stage at some point, because I know that that's what most of our listeners are here for.
Absolutely not.
But now we can dig into you and how we know you, and all the good things that come with that. We've covered the film, we've covered Saipan, we've had a lovely chat, and we've even seen it.
Yeah,
with a group of lovely people.
Yeah.
But Saipan was the reason, like the first time that we met. But at the moment in London, I feel like everyone is getting a good taste of you because you seem to be popping up all over the place. Tube stations, the side of buses, like your name is
I'm
around.
I just go around the tube stations, I put my head in,
You personally.
check how people are doing, check what they need,
Do you have a route that you follow day to day?
so that I can see posters of myself.
It's a new
Well, you say
TFL.
that. You say that. You have texted me a picture of a poster of yourself.
Oh, listen, I take a photo of all of those posters. You have to do it once. I was on the tube bringing my dad to the airport the other day, and I saw the first one
Oh,
for the
that's
film.
so nice with your dad
And it
as
was
well.
so nice. And he had to stay on because he was going to Heathrow, so I just kind of got up awkwardly and started taking photos of him, but it was perfectly framed in the
Oh,
back
nice.
of the window.
Like him sat in front of it.
It was like him on the tube and then the poster through the window and the back.
I'd love it if someone else has got a picture of you
Doing the
taking
picture.
a picture of you.
No, they never make the connection. You know, I've stood next to those posters for a long time, waiting for people to go, it's him.
Spends all day at Warren Street Station, just
Yeah.
sat on that bench.
Great station.
We can also see, he's live. He's in action.
He's live.
Not just on posters, but he's performing at the minute.
6 nights a week, 8 shows a week. We're doing Play by the Western
Don't sound too
World.
upset about that.
No. Did I say nice? 6. Can you believe it? 6 nights a week.
You sound worn down by it all. You're on stage, like I said, Playboy of the Western World,
Yes.
with Siobhan McSweeney and Nicola Coughlan.
Legends all
Who are-
around.
Great people, members of the BTL family.
Yeah.
We call it that. How has that been, sort of being on stage with those guys? Because you already knew them pretty well already, right?
I didn't know them that well. I knew their work, and then it's one of those funny things where you feel like you know people because maybe you've met once and you've friends in common. And I think I'd been chatting to you guys about, because I knew that you knew Nicola and Siobhan. But we all met in July. Nicola did a great thing. She brought us all together and we had a few drinks and had a great time.
Nice.
And it's just a ball. Like it's been a long time now. It's been October was rehearsals. We kind of started doing a bit of work in it in the summer, and now we're halfway through the run, and it's just a riot of a play to do. It's so much fun, and they're so much fun to work with. So yeah, it's getting more fun as well, I think. So yeah, we're doing that till the end of February.
That's cool. So
Otherwise-
you feel you get like a little bit more. You can just be a bit more liberal with it. You can do what you want. You can mess around a little bit more.
I think
with,
so.
with
Yeah,
what's going on?
it's like it's such a cliche when people talk about theatre, but it's that thing of like having the rules and knowing when you can break them, or you being able to, because the show it's a brilliant Play by the Western World is like a brilliant plot. It's a great piece of kind of storytelling, if I do say so myself. And I think so that you need to be very precise with it in one way, and then I think once you have that precision, you can start to enjoy and play with the language, because the language is very poetic and lyrical for anyone who doesn't know the play. And that's the way I always like it to be. I think you have to be specific and you have to be very precise, because I think theatre kind of starts to crumble a bit when you're not. But I do believe that we should all arrive on stage at 7:30 and kind of make it up as we go along to an extent, and to really find it afresh every night. Because that's what you owe an audience. I think you owe them something cooked fresh that night.
Yeah.
And it also, because it keeps you occupied and entertained. I think that's the danger, obviously, with the long run, is you can start to feel like you're in a pattern.
That's really, really interesting, because I remember watching, the first time I saw you was the Cherry Orchard.
Oh yeah,
at the Donmar.
Yeah.
It was Donmar, wasn't it?
It was, yeah.
With Nina and
Oh yeah, that was quite funny. That was when you first came in.
I was coming in the middle of
for
that.
like prepping for Saipan, and Nina had been talking about she was in town for the play, and you were like, I'm doing this play, but it took us probably about a week to realise that you guys were in the same play.
It
And
took us all a long time.
Yeah.
We were off the pace.
Like
that
by the
summer.
time it clicked, I was just like, how is this? Like, and then mentioned it to Nina, and she was like, "What?" It's like
and
you've
she'd
both
been
been coming
talking
in.
about you guys, because she'd been like, "Oh, my friend put me in touch with these fantastic guys. They're so lovely. They're real fun. It's really great." And her words, not mine.
you were like, "Can't wait to meet them."
Yeah.
I'm having
Wait,
secret-
these guys? She'd been talking about you for loads, and then it took us a while to put the dots together. But that was all that summer.
that was
So
amazing.
it was lovely. Like, we were in Covent Garden. It was the sun was out. It was
It was gorgeous.
Good fun.
But that, and I got the feeling that every performance, because you guys, the way that it was set up, you guys were sat with inside the audience with us, and you could tell every night you guys were having so much fun, and there was such a great atmosphere. You guys sat next to each other before when you're about to run on stage and sit somewhere else, and there was just a great atmosphere of like putting on something different every night, but with the same sort of the same theme of the play.
That was exactly what we wanted to do. I mean, I remember when we were told we were going to be sitting in the audience every night, parties like, oh, will that not get quite draining or something, because you'll be sitting through the whole thing and you'll be like, how do you make an entrance? But what it ended up being, I felt, was this really warm environment where it felt like a bit of a party, or not, a kind of a celebration. We kind of all sat down, had a chat with everyone before the show. I loved that. I loved the environment that he created, Benedict, the director, and yeah, you're right. We were given almost carte blanche to kind of improvise the play every night and follow whatever impulses we have, and that's just a dream to do that. And Nina, no one does that better than her. She will use anything. She will run with anything. She's so instinctive. So I that was my first professional play in a long time, and I think that influenced a lot of the way that's always been the way I've wanted to approach theatre, but seeing how we can do it there, I've sort of taken that with me. I think like some plays allow that more than others, and Cherry Orchard, I feel, really had that in it. It has space for you to improvise. Yeah. Some plays have to be stricter and some productions have to be stricter, but I think you should always take that spirit of kind of mischief. Yeah. That spirit of like, where can we take this?
It was mischievous. That was quite interesting, because I was sat opposite Nina, I think. I'm not sure if those tickets were planned, and because it was set up as a square, as a rectangle. Yeah. So I was looking opposite, and every now and then when Nina wasn't on stage, she was just looking at me, almost like winking and then blowing like raspberries at me, like blowing us. And it was like just this whole fun, like, I know you felt part of this play, which is quite a serious play, but then the way it was spun was, as an audience member, it was wonderful. It was one of my favourite plays I think I've seen. It was fantastic.
I love to hear that.
With the current play that you're doing, that's a real, like, the cast and like being, you're talking about there about having that good relationship and being friends and everything. It's like you're in a real sort of powerhouse Irish acting cast at the moment, isn't it? Which must be a great experience to be, all of you are in London, but to really kind of almost celebrate that a little bit, because it's amazing. And we meet a lot of you guys in the community of Irish actors, and obviously there's Conor McNeil, who's your current landlord. Yeah. Nice to hear that you were looking after him and cooking his dinner the other day.
Oh, we look after each other, yeah.
Good.
Did you say that Aidan's been cooking his dinner and leaving it in the fridge?
Well, that was like, Conor was here.
That was actually, I took that in for lunch the next day. That was a fiction.
It's all dog eat dog.
It was there for the taking, and I took it.
Hey, look, you got to look after yourself. You got to look after yourself.
If there's
regardless of if you put a roof over your head, you still got to look after yourself. And then in this film in Saipan, you get the opportunity to work with Steve Coogan, who's not obviously coming from the world of being the Irish actor, but it's like another big presence and a big name. Yeah, and that must be just like a really exciting opportunity to have the chance to do that kind of stuff then.
Oh, incredible. Yeah, I mean, I'm like a lot of people, I suppose, just an enormous Steve Coogan fan, and he really was one of those formative influences, his writing and his acting. When I was when I was probably a teenager, 14, 15, I saw The Trip, and it just blew my mind. I loved
remember watching that and just being like, they did it so well that you just couldn't tell if it was a show or if it was just following the two of them around.
It defied classification. It wasn't like anything else. I was watching it going, is this a documentary? Is this a skit? It's a travel program. There was something so comforting about it, and I just love his work, and had met him once before by complete coincidence when I was starting drama school. So we had this kind of funny connection from years before, and I went up and asked him for advice when I was 18, starting college, and he gave me great advice, and we had a nice little chat. And so to loop back 10 years later and make this film with him was really, apart from being a total joy, it was really it's one of those satisfying full circle moments where you go, oh yeah, I'm getting to do something I love. And I would have dreamed about this, but you'd never have bet on it happening. So we had a great time, and it was only a couple of weeks, you know, the few weeks that we overlapped in the shoot, and we just had a great time. I think we kind of approached the film with the same mentality and the same idea of what it needed to be, and then I just learned a lot from him, and he was really fun to act with because, like what we were saying about the cherry orchard, he's very spontaneous.
Yeah.
He's very, very, he throws different things at you, and that's great because it kind of takes everything out of your hands. You don't need to worry so much, because in a way your performance is just in their hands.
Yeah.
Because you just kind of cling on to them.
Yeah.
Nice.
That's an interesting way of thinking about it.
Yeah.
Because I guess if you do your preparation and you're confident in your ability to do your part of the job, but then steering how it moves and all the rest of it, you're not a passenger, but you react to that person, and the experience,
totally.
the trust you have in them must be quite comforting in a way.
Absolutely. I think that is number one in acting. Like, that is the MO for everything, is you come in with the best laid plans, you come in with all your character work and all of your ideas that you can't help but have, and then you just hope that actually all that stays somewhere in the air. But really, the most interesting thing that will ever happen is what happens because of the person in front of you. Like what they do that surprises you. And so you can come in with all of your own ideas and prep, but it'll always inevitably become like an ensemble piece, and it'll inevitably become the sum of everybody's kind of ideas and feelings about this piece. And then what happens in the moment between people is always more interesting than what you think should happen, or what you think this scene is about. It's always going to be more interesting to just see what happens between two people.
Do you prepare extensively then for stuff in that sense, or do you like to just take a step? I have you down as a very nice laid back guy, but do you deep dive into a character and be like, I need to be this way and do that? Or with what you said there, do you just sort of step back and go, I need to do my bit, but I don't want to control the scene, or I don't want to control?
I think it's a movable feast. I think it depends on the job. I ideally I come in as prepped and equipped as I can, because I just think you feel more secure and confident no matter what way it'll go then. But lately I've had to get more used to coming in more open, especially with rehearsals actually. Like with Playboy, I love that play and have been reading it for a lot this year and have known it for a long time. So you accumulate ideas about it just because you can't help but do that. You think, oh, that would be good, or that could be an interesting way to take the character. And I sort of note all that, and I kind of immerse myself in all of that, and basically just spend loads of time reading the play. It's not much more than that. But then I try and go in with as open a mind and kind of body as I can, because I think, especially in rehearsals for play, the only crime really is to shut off options, because you've got 4, 5, 6 weeks to rehearse a play. You might as well use that to try everything you can, because you're going to end up doing the play for long enough. So I think what I've learned in the theatre world anyway is, like, yes, have all those ideas and do all that work, but actually don't make any decisions before you get in there, because you never know what will come out from just stepping up on the floor and seeing what comes out in rehearsals. And that might be that might be something you'd never have thought of reading a script. It might just be something that happened by accident, and then you go, oh great, that felt right. So I try and allow it to be more organic in that way.
Nice.
But then some things are different. Like Saipan was, when I saw you guys, that was probably June, and we were starting to film beginning of August. And in a way, I think this is probably true of screen stuff in general. Like your job is quite clear cut there. You know that you've got to play this person, and it's a version of a real person, and you've got to so there's certain homework you have to do, and whether that was training with you guys or it was doing the research or the vocal and physical stuff, you kind of just have to like sit down and do your homework every day. And I love that way of working as well. I love both.
The film that me, George, and Dave are working on a project at the moment. And it's in Ireland, and then we're going over to sort of North Africa to help. But I thought there were some really long days there, and I'd go for a little walk at the end of the day on the beach. And one day it was -7 wind chill. It was so cold. This is sort of like early December.
God, you rarely get that cold in
and it was
southeast.
The wind chill was freezing. The weather was like 2 degrees, but the wind chill was bad. And I looked over, and there was someone going for a swim in the sea.
That part of Ireland, though, it's like, and I think all around Ireland, it's just people just get in the sea all the time. There's that whole area south of Dublin, there's famous spots for jumping in the sea.
Well,
and
you've got all the coast in Dublin, then you've got
I think they
Wicklow.
filmed around there in Bad Sisters.
Okay, yeah.
They all go and that's around that area,
Yes.
and it's just part of people's day, isn't it?
It's brilliant.
Because Bad Sisters, there's a lot of scenes, and there was jumping in the water, weren't there? It's like the communally.
And you got that in Cork as well, don't you? There's a spot, isn't there, where a lot of people go to, or is it you just go down to the beach and swim?
In Cork, you're not as close. The city isn't as close to the sea. Like in Dublin, that's the amazing thing. Like you can live in the city and be at the sea in 15 minutes, 20 minutes. And in Cork, it's probably a 25-minute drive, so again, not too bad. But we have, like, Cork is an amazing, very, very diverse coastline because it goes all, like, from the southeast right around to the west. Big, massive natural harbour. And there's just a great culture that's been going on for a long time, but especially recently of sea swimming all year round, and
literally all year round.
All year round. And it's one of the things that I love. It's one of those, like, I have inordinate pride in it. The idea that people are like, oh yeah, no bother. Like, no bother. 3rd of January, no bother. And part of the ritual is not making a fuss of it as well, you know. I love that because I go in and I'd be making a fuss and a song and a dance and doing all my.
Then you do it on Christmas Day, you said.
We do Christmas Day swim. Yeah. I'd swim most. I'd do. If I'm home for New Year's and stuff, I'd swim in January, and I did. I was in Dublin for January, wasn't I? I think I was in Dublin for a little bit, so I had a little dip when I was back for a weekend. And
are you in there, budgie smugglers in a beanie, keeping the head warm?
I'm not. I mean, you've got all varieties of kind of fashion statements down there. I'd be more in the like, I just threw on my football shorts.
Yeah,
you know
old
I just kind of dug these out from the bottom of the bag.
Yeah.
And then a mangy towel kind of thing.
Yeah.
But I am partial to a dry robe if they're there. I don't own one, but I will wear one.
Is there now the setup of like the kind of more bougie upmarket? You come out and there's a wood-fired sauna just waiting for you.
I will not say no to a wood-fired sauna. There's down in Dublin and Cork, there's like loads of beaches now with amazing wood-fired saunas and people jumping in and then
maybe with the amount of
minutes.
Filming around that south part of Dublin, we should be opening a little BTL beach sauna recovery on the beach.
Very good idea.
We
Josh will be there -7.
No, I'll be watching. I'll be there with 5 layers just
bother.
watching. I was cold watching her go in. But I remember them. I was on that because I think we stayed. I just remember this. I think we stayed in the same apartment block in New York when you went to do the play.
No way.
Was it because me and Dave spoke about? Was it the place on Wall Street?
Yeah.
So I remember Dave saying, and we haven't actually caught up from it since.
The most enormous apartment block ever. It's like
huge.
It's like a kind of. It just keeps going in all directions.
Yeah.
Were you there this year?
Wraps around the corners of that building.
Yeah. It has that salad place at the bottom.
The salad bit at the bottom.
Yeah. Never went there. Not once in.
We
2
went
months.
once.
Any good?
It was. You go once, you don't go back.
You don't go back. You got a lot of good bagel places around there. You don't need to go.
The bagels are there. It was great. But we went to Coney Island one day, and again there was what they call the polar bears who go swimming out on the beach. And I said to them, I was like,
You approach the polar bears.
They're called the polar bears. That's what you do, right? If it's brown, lie down. If it's white, give it a hug. No? But I said, this is so cold. How many of you come out? It's like, we get like 100 people every Sunday come out for a swim. I was like, would you ever get saunas? No way, we would never get saunas. They're so strict on cold water swimming only. No saunas allowed.
No saunas.
They're strictly
no dry robes there, mate.
No dry robes at all.
I respect it. I respect both. You know, I think there's room for both. I like the kind of militancy swimmers as well. I'm like, go on.
Yeah, like this is the only way to do it.
This is the only way to do it. Freeze, suffer.
You referenced when you were talking about your fashion choices going down to the beach for your swim. You referenced the old football shorts.
Yes.
And you did grow up like fairly sporty, I suppose, didn't you? Like you were like doing bits and bobs like any normal kid, I suppose.
Yeah.
But you hadn't necessarily, I may be wrong, but you hadn't necessarily spent much time in the gym, had you? It's not been.
How
it
dare
hasn't
you,
been part of
David?
the route.
How dare you?
Could you not
How
tell?
can I be polite about this? Not the point I was making, but it was like when you first came into us, you could tell you had like you hadn't shied away from kind of physical stuff growing up, but you could also see it was like relatively new going in and lifting weights, and you're probably more accustomed to kind of like the out running, pushing yourself, that kind of conditioning, weren't you?
Yeah.
But it's like, has that become now something that you enjoy a bit more and that you kind of factor in? Because I know you still like to run and you like to kind of be outside doing all those kind of things, but has the weight training now become more part of your lifestyle, I suppose?
It has actually, yeah. I think I probably, through working with you guys and then kind of do my own thing at times, it's like I felt like that was some of the best exercise you could do in terms of if you don't have a huge amount of time and you're just interested in your all round kind of like health and mood. And the bits of research I did, I always thought actually that's, doing kind of strength and conditioning stuff feels like time well spent. As you probably know, I'm like I go through phases where it's like more running, or it's more, if I'm doing a play, I'm kind of just doing yoga. So I don't have as strict a routine in that way. But what I love about the strength and conditioning stuff is I feel like it's kind of energizing work. I wouldn't be a great man now for like sitting under a big barbell and spending 30 minutes doing the same kind of squat thing, because I like to jump around. I like to do a bit of jumping about. I don't like to do the kind of I'm going to bunker down
in the
there.
industry. That's called plyometric training.
Is that called plyometric training?
You could call it jumping around.
I'm going to call it plyometric training, but I'm also going to keep the option to call it leaping about, which I think is. So if someone's, I'd say that's my mates.
Around.
Like what were you doing today in the gym? I say, just a bit of jumping about, a bit of leaping about.
Leaping, I think it's different to a jump. I think leaping, I'm thinking like
now we've
huge jump.
When
across
I think of the
like
leaping, I think of the same. I think of jumping in between things.
Yeah.
You're like I'm just going to go over there now and do a little bit of that.
In the industry, we call that SAQ training. Actually,
Oh, what does that stand for?
speed, agility, quickness.
Look
How
at all
am I
these
only
things,
finding this
all
now?
these things you're learning,
SAQ. That's what I like. I want
Nice.
speed, agility, and quickness.
which is actually quite like it's sports based conditioning. So I think a lot of people.
What, you saying
And
I'm
I'm
an
glad-
athlete? We all heard it. You're saying I'm
This
an
guy's
athlete.
an athlete. Ain't a Hardwicke, the athlete.
You're
Well,
saying
we're gonna
I
get
can
to that
only
'cause
train like an athlete
I'm
because I
going
am
to
one.
bring you. I'm going to attempt to bring you into the fold of the BTL football team, which we won our league. Thanks for asking.
Do you play around the corner in
We
that
play around the
amazing
corner.
little cage?
In the little cage.
Yeah,
We play around the corner. Did I completely wipe out a woman from another business? Yes. But it is played in good spirits. I absolutely nailed her, and I was so
Can we just go into that to make sure the word absolutely nailed her and wiped out? We have some more context. No, I mean just like context of the
Two-footed?
abuse.
Did you go in two-footed?
It had been raining.
It was great. It was the
It had
funniest.
been raining. The worst bit is I think the final whistle had gone. My feet carried on moving, and my body was trying to stop.
Yeah.
And it was like one of those where like I genuinely couldn't do anything about it. 2-footed, straight through her legs, like a big, like a Roy Keane-esque tackle.
Yeah.
basically.
Yeah.
And I was like, I'm so sorry about that. But she was like, oh, it's fine, don't worry about it.
Yeah, she was fine
'Cause I
with
was
it.
so worried I'd like fucking broke her ankle or something. Because
Yeah,
it was like I had no control over what my body was doing because my feet just went. And it was like rubber,
Yeah,
AstroTurf,
Astro.
rubber stuff, a little bit wet. Feet went, and that was it. I was just like, I'm so sorry.
Well, this
Quite
is
good fun.
it's great fun.
It's good up there.
I love it.
Well, we
I
can,
will-
we can
I'll-
bring you in and get you
I'd
in,
love
but I
to.
just want to. We need to clarify whether or not you're going to be approaching football in character, because that will really change
I
how
did
this league is played. If
I
you
did
turn
try.
up and you've got the captain's armband on, you're just shouting in people's
Who
faces.
would you say today we need Aina or today we need Roy? It's like depending on what the tactics are.
Maybe that's it. Maybe we need some.
You never need Ada. I can just say on the football pitch, you never need him.
He's always leaping. He's just leaping
He's
around
just
in the
leaping
corner.
about. He's leaping away from things. To return to your earlier point, I played my fair share of football and Gaelic football growing up, neither to a high standard.
But you enjoyed it.
I
No.
love it. No, I love it.
Applause. That was a
As you said that, actually got like flashes of all of the worst moments, and then I remembered all the good times. I loved playing football. I loved it growing up. But I think there was a certain age. I don't know if you've found this in your respective playing careers, but there was probably an age around 13, 14 where I was like, oh, I don't have the grit for this, that you kind of need a competitive edge.
Yeah.
Whereas I loved playing, but was sort of like, you win some, you lose some.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas obviously not the attitude you need to have.
I think that's one of those things that you, like you said, you just realise there's like, it's either part of your character or it's not. I'm the opposite, and I'm now struggling playing in like a dad's football 5-a-side. I'll get home and my wife's like, how was it? I'm like, yeah, we won. She's like, well, you just seem a bit angry about that. I'm like, people aren't trying hard enough.
Yeah.
And then as I'm saying it, being like, it doesn't matter. Like, nothing, it doesn't matter at all. It's just a bunch of dads playing football. And I cannot, like, separate that bit of just being like, I hate losing.
But Dave
That's
played
great Keno energy.
Dave played a lot of high level sport, I would say, when it comes to rugby, Australian rules
Nothing
football.
to the point where there was loads riding on it or anything. Like, it
But
was
still
like,
to the point where like you were training regularly and you were putting like a lot of your life was.
And now I'm really struggling as a man that's getting further towards 40. I'm like, that bit of me should be dead now. Like, that should have been gone and buried and just play for the fun of it. And I can't do it.
I think I'm in the same camp as you with that, Aina, where like I played at a average level for a 13, 14-year-old playing football up to the age of 16. But somehow I found myself playing with some amazing young footballers in our team who got scouted for like professional clubs.
Yeah.
And I was the captain because I was the only one who sort of had this cultured ability to pass the ball sideways. So the manager was like, this guy, he's got the good temperament, he can be the captain.
He's just scared.
Whereas Dave's right. I was just the one who didn't want to take a risk and be like, I don't really care, I'll just pass sideways, that'll do. Somehow I'm lifting the trophies for all the boys and they were watching me going, how the fuck is this guy got the captain's
You were ahead of
armband?
your time. You were, you know,
I would say that
tiki-taka.
our Before the Lights football team was a nice balance.
Yeah.
As you get with a lot of creatives and actors, there's more of a...
Do you mean skill level, by the way, there? What are you talking about?
Just like a
Personalities?
balance in terms of the personality.
balance
There's
in
a lot
terms
more...
of commitment levels. People, you know, some people go and
I think like there's the creative side of people is often a little bit softer and encouraging, isn't it? And that comes into our team. I'd say we have it's a nice environment to be playing football in. But when
you're
it comes
making it
to
sound very good. Yeah,
we need to win.
I think
We got
that's
to
the
defend our
spectrum
title.
that I want to play on. Yeah,
Cool. So we're in. That's another recruit.
That's good. Can I
for the
just
season.
it's
Recruit
not
woman.
that boring. It's quite a fun fact actually. But you know how they do all these AI models now for footballers? They get like 18-year-old. They can see how quick he runs, and they simulate. Basically, they put this amazing young talent in like 1,000 or even like 100,000 different scenarios, and it shows how good they'll be.
Yeah,
so that's
they're
all
trying to predict if the
predict.
person is worth
But
investing in.
What's
so
the
to speak.
information they put in? Video, like recorded footage of them playing.
Exactly, and
They
they can
track
see how
everything these
quick,
days.
how fast they move, how they react to a pass, how accurate their pass is. They put it all into a data model, and it comes out with this player could be this good
Yeah.
in this year.
Equally, though, they can use that to go, right, these are the things that data suggests you need to improve on. So then you can like refine how you train.
Now, what the fun thing though about this is all physical stuff, but what they've decided, another company have done, we've never done that for emotional intelligence in a team sport. So now they're doing an AI model for emotional intelligence on a pitch to see what personalities, let's take football, a team of 11 plus 5 subs, what is the best biomarkers and what's the best personality traits to make the best team.
Right.
And that's what I'm saying as creators. We won the league, not through our ability, David, but through our personality traits. And everyone complemented each other, I think.
Was there ever a better setup for the film Saipan?
I don't think
A film about the very different styles of management and leadership, and I think it's like there is something kind of interesting about that, isn't there? That there is all of the technical elements and the, you know, how you play the game, basically the best, and then this whole kind of complementary field of like, how do you get the best out of a player, out of a team of very different individuals? Like, what way do you treat people differently, and what way do you kind of create that team, kind of that glue between the team? And I don't know much about football, if you couldn't tell, and that's the bit that interests me a lot now, is like, how do you sort of manage people to get something else out of them, or to kind of, it seems to be the secret sauce really now.
That's it.
And the great managers seem to have both, right? They seem to have that complete, like, they know, they're obsessed with the technical details, they're obsessed with the stats, and yet they also know how to create an atmosphere in a dressing room, like Klopp or Emery or
Yeah.
people like that.
Who needs a hug?
Maybe
Who needs a shout?
all that
Yeah.
just came out of Josh's mouth, maybe that means he needs to step into that role for us now. He could be our football manager.
I can be the sports psychologist of the company.
Psychologist,
Yes.
football
Okay.
manager.
And he's looking at me like nodding, going, yes.
Yes.
I feel like he's really either agreeing or disagreeing.
No, I was just trying to imagine. Would you be like a player manager? You know, which is a great thing. I don't know if they still do that.
I think he would, and he'd have to call you into this room to have a chat with you. Come into the library.
give you some reading material. I think you
lie
just need
down.
a breathing space.
Roy wouldn't react well to that, I don't think. Depending on which Aina we've got on the day, if it's himself or the character.
Yeah,
That's
Aina
Or the
or Roy.
character. Well, I did play five-a-side in the lead up to the film, because I thought that's a sort of accessible way into kicking a ball again, and it was when I was training with you guys, and it was a gorgeous summer, and I was playing down an oval with a lot of guys from Cork actually,
Oh, really?
who my roommate knew them, and I kind of got into that group and joined, and they were good enough to take me on because they were all handy footballers, like they were playing in a league for the last year or two, and I was a bit of a liability. But I recently heard one of the lads in that team, who's a friend of a friend's, this made its way back to me. They're like, oh yeah, because you know he said you joined him for 4 or 5 weeks, and he said it was great because like you were really shit to start with, and then and he said but it was amazing how much you improved, and it was one of those kind of brilliant moments of going, oh, I didn't know I was that bad, but also most improved.
Yeah. There's always that award that gets given to that kid, isn't there?
I think I took a couple of those in my time, but I was fairly mild mannered on the pitch. Because you kind of have to be as well when you're preparing, when you're about to do a job, because
You can't be risking
yeah,
getting hurt. And,
like as
getting
you're
ankle snapped or whatever.
clearly a risk to everybody who plays with you. You know, like
But if you're on my team, you'll be getting looked after. So
oh, there you go.
I don't know.
Nobody will touch you. I was kind of cautious. Like I was like, don't do your ankle in now. That would be the worst thing you can do.
imagine? Yeah.
Looking back, it was pretty stupid that I was doing any of it. And one day, one of the lads slipped and collided with the cage and like tore a load of his scalp, and we had to bring him down to A&E. So like it can, you like, because you get the intensity kind of ratchets up so quickly.
Yeah.
On the last day, it was a particularly hot day, and it was the week before I went over to Ireland to film. I went, right, if you don't go in now and like go in 2-footed and bring a bit of the Roy energy that you're going to need, like today is the day to do it. And I did, and we won comprehensively.
Yes.
It was the best we'd played. Not saying that it had anything to do with me, but I kind of went in and was like, yeah, just ruffle a few feathers, like getting people's way a bit. And I ended up having a bit of a skirmish with one of the guys in the pitch who got furious at me. And I remember I walked off that day and I was like, great.
See how much I'm smiling because this is how I play. I love that. I love that.
It was brilliant. I was like, oh yeah, I can see now. I can see why people
I like you've
enjoy
done that
this.
as almost like a little social experiment, and it's like
Yeah.
you're prepping yourself for your job. No one else knows about it.
Yeah.
But
Yeah,
just
yeah,
it's
no,
like a
no.
secret little thing, a secret
I
game
love
that
how
you're playing.
That's people's half an hour of their week where they get out all their frustration.
Yeah,
But you've like calculated to be like, I'm going to be a bit nasty this week.
just going to dial up the nastiness by
Yeah.
5%.
Well, you keep it well hidden.
That's
most
amazing.
of the time because you are a lovely man.
Wow.
I think that this is a perfect chance for us to now bring in the Humbled in Hollywood section of the podcast, where we ask people to share a little story. I mean, it began life as an opportunity to share a story that maybe it's happened in a gym, maybe in a kind of sporting or exercise setting, but there's since been countless stories nothing to do with health and fitness whatsoever. So it's more of a people see actors and musicians and people in the kind of the public eye a little bit have this perfect life and everything's great, and there's no moments where everything's kind of a little bit embarrassing or whatever. So the Humbled in Hollywood section is like showing that normal stuff's happening to people, and there's definitely those moments in day-to-day life. Have you had anything in recent times that you can think of that would tick that box?
I mean, I have some funny on stage ones. In the sort of health and fitness realm, I was training for a job years ago before I met you guys.
Thank you.
And very different time, different landscape. And you know when you meet someone who's a professional, in this case like a personal trainer, and you know you just slightly dial up the kind of your knowledge of the subject. Like if you ever get your bike fixed, and I'm always like, yeah, so I think there's something wrong there with the derailer or whatever.
Yeah.
And I start to kind of talk way beyond my.
It's like the
my
classic
means.
man talking to a builder scenario.
It's your classic man talking to a builder situation. So I'm going in and I'm like, yes, I suppose this is the kind of way I want to train, and this is the sort of thing I need to do, and this is kind of what the part requires, and the producers have asked for this, and etc. etc. Wonderful trainer. And he's like, telling me about your fitness level. And I'm like, look, fitness levels are pretty good. I do this and this and this. And he's like, great, so we'll just get started. And it was an agonizing first 10 minutes. It got worse the next 20 minutes. And I was like putting a brave face in it, and I was like, this is fine, I've started this job in 3 or 4 weeks, and look, it's gonna be fine. You're gonna get through this. And by the end, I was on one of those assault bike things and just vomited.
On the bike.
Mercifully not. But like, talk a bit high to low. Like, I got in there being like, no, honestly, this will be no problem to me. Just you tell me where to go and I'll do it. And within an hour, vomiting in the toilet.
The assault bike is brutal. You don't think it's going to be that brutal. Then you get on it, within like 30 seconds in, you're like, this is hell. It's fine, and then it exponentially goes to terrible.
This is it. You start and you go, oh, this is a fine time.
I can ride a bike.
I can ride a bike. I can do this. No.
I find that with those, like, we're stood on the other side of that often.
Yeah.
And I always find it funny that people hold back on that, sharing that information of like, this is actually a bit too tough, or just slowing down or whatever, which is actually more beneficial to the end result than it is to just go hell for leather and then just completely run out of energy. But it's like, there's always that moment of like, this would be just a chance to give people some advice. Whenever that feeling comes along, just take it into account and let the person know.
Yeah.
And you'll end up in a better position rather than falling off an air bike and throwing up.
It's a tricky one though, isn't it? Because I suppose you probably encounter this a lot, where people want, in whatever field, whether it's exercise or outside, like, you want to push yourself because you think, well, that'll lead to something, or I might discover something, but then when does the pushing yourself become pushing yourself too far? When does it become overextending?
Detrimental.
That's a kind of I think that's a hard place for a lot of people to.
Yeah. That's why when you're a trainer and when you have a trainer, it's like there's that two-way dialogue on it, isn't there? Because like, you can kind of, and even day to day, it changes as well. Like, we'll always check in with people when they come in and just see how they've been feeling, how they've slept, all this kind of stuff, that all those little bits of information that then dictate how you approach the session in the gym. And I think that's a really important part of it, even if it's with yourself.
Yeah.
If you're training on your own and you've got something written down, and it is quite hard to be like, right, that's what I've got to do. But you can edit and amend it and leave things out, and still, in the grand scheme of things, travel in the right direction. But acknowledging, like, actually, I feel a bit, today I'm just knackered, or whatever it is. And if that's not happening every single day, when there's something else you need to address, but if it's like on that day, you just like scale it down a little bit.
Yeah.
You don't have to go full pelt all the time. You still get the results, and often you get them quicker by being a bit more mindful and giving yourself what you actually need rather than what you think you have to do.
It's one of the hardest skills, but most valuable skills in life, I think, is to listen to your body, which sounds like such a cliche now, or like a mantra kind of, but I think it's really tangible thing. Like, if you start to kind of pay attention to that stuff just when you're through all walks of life, it does kind of tell you when you're what you need and what you don't need. Like, if you just listen to it, I even find it with the show. Warming up for the show is something that is quite sacred to me, and that's makes it sound way too strict, but like, it's a really important part of doing this play.
Getting ready for it.
It's a bit like what we were saying about training. With the show, you want that hour and a half, 2 hours before, to put you in the best possible place, where you're in your kind of happiest place in a way, where you're like enthused about the idea of doing the play. And I've been kind of loosening that up lately to see, well, what do you need on certain days? Like, when your body is tired, what kind of warm up do you need? When you have loads of energy, where do you put that energy? And I guess it's just like, it's been really interesting. It's been really satisfying to like tune into that voice and really pay attention to it and go, oh no, it doesn't lie. Like, I can feel that my back is aching now. I can feel that like I don't have as much energy, so I'm going to do more stretching, and I'm going to drink loads of water, and I'm going to eat, fruit, and just being a bit more not being so kind of by numbers.
Yeah.
I do this because this is what's written down, or this is what I need to do. Listening.
I think that's like the best kind of advice. And I
Yeah.
think you spoke a little bit at the start about
Yeah.
you had that chance to speak to Steve Coogan as a student and learning little bits, and like stuff like that coming from you in this position now are the most valuable bits of advice and information that can be passed on to people, which is great because like you found that through your experience, and then you get to a point where you're comfortable enough and you know what you're doing, and you trust your own kind of intuition with things. Whereas I suppose when people start doing stuff, you kind of forget about that, don't you? And you think like, oh, I need to do this, whatever it is. But you should always kind of listen to that part of your own thoughts and factor it in.
Definitely.
We always like to round these things out with looking at what's coming up for you in the future. And I know there's a hell of a lot of things, and I don't know what you're allowed to say and what you're not allowed to say at the moment. But we're training again for something. Whether or not you can talk about it, I don't know. But if you've got anything else that you want to share with us about what's coming up this year.
I'd love to. I can't just yet talk about the thing we're doing at the moment, but I did 2 films in the last year, one of which is doing the film festival circuit in the next few months, called No Ordinary Heist, which is loosely based on the true events of the Northern bank robbery of 2004, which was at the time the biggest bank robbery in Irish and British history. It's 26.5 million, I think it was. And that happened in Belfast. So myself and Eddie Marson did that with wonderful director Colin McIver in January last year. And then I finished a film just before the play called Ancestors, which is a beautiful film written and directed by David Turpin. And that's just in the edit right now. So it was a lovely year. It was a lovely year. Got to do theatre, got to do films that were very, very different in kind of genre and tone, and that's what you're hoping for, like to get to do an eclectic mix and things that challenge you and pull you in different directions.
You're a busy boy. You got a busy year coming up as well, huh?
Yeah,
things we can't talk
sort
about,
of,
but again, another busy few months.
Busy enough, yeah. No, exactly, nicely busy. And Saipan it's not a football film exclusively, but it obviously has that whole side to it, and there's not many. I suppose there haven't been many that have been made on the subject.
Yeah.
So I'm really interested to see that kind of reaction to it. But as a film, it was just such a joy to make, like a total one of those really satisfying experiences that was challenging but fun and rewarding. And it's been lovely to take it on the road the last few months because we've gone all over. You know, we were in Canada, we were in London, Belfast, Cork, and very different reactions. Like especially it was so interesting to be in Toronto and to hear like a North American audience who don't have the same football culture we have really.
But it's growing,
gel
isn't
with
it?
the film.
It's growing.
I wonder if there'll be more of a
Hugely,
push over there with the World Cup coming up and stuff, and like there's obviously a huge Irish influence in America and probably a little bit in Canada as well, where there's people culturally that have that background. So I wonder if there'll be a lot of interest in it.
We fingers crossed Ireland make the World Cup. That's the next step.
That's the next one.
Hopefully
When are those playoffs? They're coming up, I guess.
In March time, I think. Pretty soon. That'd be amazing if they make it with the film out this year
crazy
as well.
into that game, wasn't it?
Incredible.
Ridiculous.
Troy Parrott.
Troy Parrott. Oh. I mean, that's like...
I was crying watching like the highlights of that. Football makes me cry. Those random shit.
It does though, doesn't it?
The emotion of like seeing grown men like in tears. I'm like, I am that man. Fuck.
No, I do. I think it's like... I just think it's precious. Like, of all the negative things about the game, of which there are many, the idea that we're all chasing a ball, whether you're in the stands or you're on the pitch, and you kind of become a child in that moment. It's just
it's a bit daft, isn't it?
It's daft and brilliant, and it's like the best of human kind of behaviour, I think.
But when you look at any sport, you can really reduce it to that. This is so stupid. But it counts and it matters so much.
And yet, it's everything.
That's Dave Hastie's rational brain with most things.
You can boil it down to.
Yeah. Everything's a bit daft.
It's all a bit daft, but...
I think that's a lovely way to wrap it up. And I would implore anybody listening who hasn't to get out there and go get yourself in the cinema and watch the film.
Yes.
We've had the pleasure of talking to you and to sitting down with a group of people and watching it together. And I can't recommend it enough.
Thank you very much.
Thank
How
you,
about that?
Yeah, I can't wait for it to.
How about that
yeah.
for some publicity?
Yeah.
That is wonderful publicity. Thank
And of
you.
course, thank you very much for coming.
Thank
on
you
and
very
doing
much.
the
Oh,
podcast.
Trainer.
this has
Thank
been
you
so.
Let's not forget that
This
bit.
has been great. What a joy.